We're going to go ahead and start. So, guys, we've got another podcast of Yu-Gi-Oh! News you might have missed. There has been a lot that's happened since the very beginning of the year. Tons and tons of different cards have been announced. And of course, we've got Obelisk Blue, aka Carlos, aka Golden Lord Yugioh, joining us. You guys definitely need to check out his YouTube channel. He's doing a Let's Play Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2011 DS game, and he's doing it by episodes, and it's really entertaining. Carlos, Shadow Mew 7 was also showing me a little bit about this game, and I think it's really good. Like, you can buy structure decks and like all this cool stuff. So I've enjoyed watching you both play it. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Like, it's honestly my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh game of all time. So I don't have enough good things to say about it.
Oh, it's really, really well done. And then new to our podcast here, we've got Grunt, and he has been doing extremely well in our most recent online tournaments. And Grunt, I can feel it. You're super close to that first place spot. You're very close to getting it one time here soon.
It's, I feel bad because I shouldn't have been as salty as I got that time because I'm playing Drytron and I'm like, I shouldn't be salty if I'm playing Drytron. I'm definitely going to bring something new that's not a big meta threat with Vantage.
Well, you're fine to play whatever you think, Grunt. That's the beauty of our tournaments. Everyone is able to play something and we all have a great time doing it. And don't worry, we all understand the salt. I totally get it. Looking here though,
Mystic Mind of 1.
Looking here at your profile, that takes me back because I was a huge Halo guy back from 2001 through 2010. I lived and breathed that game, so it was really fun. That and my fighting games, I used to love it. So it's neat to see we have that connection. But let's go ahead and get started here. So I actually want to start with what's coming out here in February 4th, which will be the Blazing Vortex set, and it's the S-Force cards. Now, I was looking at these, and they look like fun. The boss monster is extremely interesting, the Link 3 here, and it reads, you cannot summon/set monsters to zones or zones. This card points to quick effect. You can target one face-up effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn, and then you can move that opponent's monster to their main zone this card points to. You can only use this effect of S-Force Justify once per turn. And then this is amazing. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can banish all cards this card points to. Carlos, what do you think about that? Do you think this is going to be a pretty strong archetype?
So, I've actually started playtesting the archetype today.
Oh,
the boss monster is really cool. I like it. I think it has a unique kind of disruption effect.
Yeah.
Where, most of the things have omni negates nowadays, where this one has negates only to the zones it points to, and it can move it to the zone it points to. So I think that's pretty cool. My thing is the deck's just so slow, and it only has really one extender, which is the S-Force Rappa Chiyomaru.
Yeah,
like she's like the best card, and she's an extender, and she can get feasibly 2 monsters on the field, and then if you open the right card, you could search the quick play spell, and then you could get 3 on the field. But that's basically the extent. Like, the extent is making this turn 1, and I think just having 1 negate turn 1 isn't good enough. It's not even an omni negate. It doesn't negate spell or traps or have protection. It's just kind of its monster effect. So I think it's kind of like, I think it's definitely interesting, and the deck, like, in theory sounds fun. I just think it has limitations because of the card design.
It does. I agree with you on that. It does have some limitations. And Grunt, I don't know if you've looked at the monsters very much, but it's interesting because if there's a card in the same column, you can control the card in different ways. So like Rappa here, each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters can only target that monster for attacks. And then on the next one here, Monster. It says here your opponent cannot target any of their monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters with card effects. And then another one, you cannot change battle positions. And then there's one where if it's used for any type of material and it's in the same column as Gravitino here, the card gets banished. And so it seems very control heavy, very much almost like Magical Musketeers. Have you looked at the archetype at all?
So I looked at this archetype when it was first revealed in the OCG, and I'll be honest that I did kind of get Musketeer vibes. The issue I have with it is that some of the monsters kind of remind me of UA syndrome, where especially if you look on Gravitino or Platina here, a lot of these level 5s and 6s don't have inherent ways of summoning themselves. And there are a few that can summon them, but again, it stinks because Gravitino, for example, is a searcher and it doesn't have any inherent summoning clause. So you're relying on one of the other monsters or you're relying on some other form of special summoning. And being a psychic that can't be summoned with E-Telly, I mean, my biggest issue, I think, is that it's column based, and a lot of archetypes can either get around columns or they'll probably get rid of your monsters with some sort of removal before columns really come into play because they don't really have that much protection.
No, I think you couldn't have put that better. I do think that there's definite more support that needs to come to the archetype. It's an interesting start, but we definitely need more. Now, you both had brought up the support cards that you have. The quick play spell card, S-Force Showdown, that seems pretty good to me because it does special summon one of the cards and it is a quick play, so that's pretty good. And then the field spell, and I like where the field spells seem to be going for archetypes, where if you play it, you get a card. So in this case, you get an S-Force monster from your deck to your hand. And then it offers different protection after that. And so it's interesting, but based on what I'm seeing, there's just not enough here. Carlos, what do you think they would need in order for it to be getting to that rogue level, based in your opinion?
I'm so glad you asked me that because I was literally just thinking about that. They need another monster that can extend, like an extender. They need maybe another couple extra monsters with different utility effects. Something really, really powerful. Like I like the first one, but they need something like really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And then need a main deck monster that has just some bonkers effect that would just kind of bring the deck together and kind of would like. They basically don't have enough targets for Rapid Chiyomaru is the problem. Like they have the level 5 that's good to special summon. The dark spellcaster is really good to special summon too, but they just need better targets for it and extenders.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It is interesting. I mean, there are some cards you could throw in, like because Rappa's a warrior monster. And then you've got a cyber monster here, so you might have some synergy with some other cards in that way. But I agree, there just has to be more here, especially like you said, there needs to be that one card that really gets the whole deck going. Grunt, your thoughts?
So I'm thinking of other decks that have had decent success, and literally, I think of how some of these guys are psychics, and I feel like they need their own version of Lulu. I think they need either something that they can summon off of E-Telly that can serve as an extender, whether it's searching, or whether it's special summoning. Because if they could get a nice E-Telly target or something that can special summon and search, they could more reliably summon cards like Gravitino or Platina, or even, get out the other S forces to more easily summon the Link. Because you mentioned the Link, and the issue with the Link is they don't have enough extenders to get it out. So possibly a Link 2, something like they just need something to build off of. It's like Evil Eyes in their Link 3. They couldn't build it for a while.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. Both of you talking about they need another way to get up. And when I think of like Crusadia, you could link climb, which was very great about that deck. And I feel that this archetype would do very well if it had more support like that, which gave you cards to the hand, which allowed you to climb up the ladder if you needed to. So very interesting for now. We'll definitely see where the archetype goes, but it's one to keep our eyes out on because I think there's potential. Now, speaking of another archetype that I was very interested in learning about was that armed dragons are back. Now, Grunt, if I'm not mistaken, you had said this seems just more support for like dragon linking in general. Was that you, by the way? Did you say that? I think you had said that. Yes.
Said this to multiple people, so I might have said this to you. Someone else might have mentioned it. I know I've been talking, and I messaged people about this like weeks ago when it was revealed. I said it was like Dragon Link support essentially.
Oh, and I want you to explain that to everyone because when I look at it, it does seem much better than the old armed dragons because literally you're just discarding and then you can level up that way versus having to wait for your standby phase. So what makes you think it's just more support for Link Dragon? Go ahead and expand on that.
So you could build a pure variant of this, or you could, just make an Ojama version. I've seen some people with like Oja matching. I think the biggest thing is that, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't played Dragon Link myself, but Dragon Link does have several cards they could run that could theoretically mill through your hand. And cards like level 3 give you an additional draw. I think level 5 gives you an additional search. Like, a lot of these guys just serve as extenders, and there is a quick play spell in the archetype that can
Yep.
summon a level 3 from the deck.
From the
which is
deck,
kinda
yeah, it's
like an
really
e-killing.
good. Yeah. When I saw that card, I thought, oh my gosh, that is just absolutely fantastic. It's Armed Dragon Flash. And anything that gets you going that you can special from the deck is pretty amazing. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting archetype. And I'm curious where you're going to see it splashed into, what engines it'll be splashed into. Carlos, where do you see this deck going?
So as a pure deck, it's not going to be meta. As an engine, they're probably going to use the quick play spell in Dragon Link. I find it ridiculous that they literally gave this archetype a quick play spell, and it's dragon based because now Dragon Link literally has two e-tellies
They do.
in
Hmm.
quick launch and the armed dragon flash.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, like it's like pick your poison, man. That's extenders out the butt.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was very
But
surprised by that too. Sorry, go ahead. Keep
but
going.
but in terms of like a pure archetype, I don't think it's gonna be like too meta. I do really like it though. It's always nice to get retrained Yu-Gi-Oh cards of like classics. I
Hmm.
kind of wish, and I know for the sake of keeping with the theme of the original Armed Dragons, they made them win. I kind of wish they were dark, so you could
Hmm.
play Dark Armed Dragon in this. Is my one gripe, or maybe they treated themselves as dark in the graveyard. That's the like one downside I have with this deck because I really want to play Dark Armed Dragon in it.
Oh yeah, that would have been
So
amazing because if they did that though, you could literally get 3 cards in the grave very quickly. With the way this whole deck just allows you to level up right there on the spot, and like you said, Grunt, it allows you to search really easily. Grunt, could you see this possibly being used in Dragoonity decks, or do you think it's just going to be Dragon Link that abuses this?
So I think there's potential for Dragoonity only because there is a little synergy. One thing I wanted to mention is that first things first, I completely forgot about the biggest interaction. The biggest interaction is that all of them, I think it's 3, 5, and 7. They don't say they have to be discarded. I think they say sent from to the graveyard to activate a Dragon Monsters effect. So like Charlie Safer fulfills that condition, and I think that's the big interaction is that Safer can pitch these guys not only to search, but you can get additional effects. And for Unity, for example, if they have a way to pitch Armed Dragon Thunder level 5, you could always search out Tempest, because Tempest is
Oh
searchable with level
yes.
five's
Oh
effect.
wow.
Something
Because
else that's really fun is if you play Golden Sarcophagus in this deck, you can banish Tempest to search the level 3 dragon, and then on top of that, you get the Tempest in 2 turns. So it's like a reinforcement, and then you get Tempest on top of that. Like there's a lot of
Whoa.
like neat little niche interactions. Like nothing that's gonna break the deck. I don't think. It's
Well,
definitely gonna be like a fun casual deck.
yeah, yeah. And I do like that, like you said, Carlos, it's nice that they're trying to give support to older cards. Especially because I'm sure they have new fans always coming in. And they might be watching the GX show and they want to chaz it up and they want to get this going. And then they try to get those old cards and realize they're terrible. At least this gives them something that is a little bit more playable by today's speed of the game. So yeah, pretty interesting. What do you guys think of the boss monster, the Arm Dragon Thunder level 10? Do you think?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I was gonna say like I really like it. I just wish there was it's really unique in the fact that it gains attack or gains effects based on its attack.
Yes.
That's the first time I can remember a Yu-Gi-Oh card doing that. So it's definitely unique. I just kind of wish it was easier to get it to 10,000. So then you could have like a field nuke. Like that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's like it's a disruption on your opponent's turn and it's quick play, like that's really cool. I like it a lot, and it's a secret rare, so you know it's gonna look beautiful.
Oh yeah, and the art is pretty good. You spoke of raising it to 10,000. I was wondering, how are you going to do that? All the other ones I can see doing, but raising it to 10,000, wow.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways you could do it. First of all, his effect every time you activate the effect to destroy one of the cards on your opponent's turn, it gains 1,000. So
right,
that's gonna that's gonna slowly start to build its attack up. But also there's a continuous spell that you could either choose to add one of your resources. You can add one of your resources from your graveyard back to your hand once per turn, or you can increase its attack once per turn. So it's definitely there's definitely ways. Oh, and there's a trap card that can boost
say there's
attack.
also a good trap.
Oh, really? What's the does it come with the archetype? Oh, is it this one here, the Arm Dragon Thunderbolt? Oh, I see it. Okay. Yes, so target one Arm Dragon monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack for each Arm Dragon monster in your graveyard with an equal or lower level than it and with different names from each other. Also, for the rest of this turn, your opponent takes no battle damage from its attacks. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Armed Dragon spell in your graveyard and add it to the hand. You can only use one Armed Dragon Thunderbolt's effect per turn, and only once that turn, so I like that it's a hard once per turn. But this is actually pretty effective if you could just get it to the grave off Foolish Burial Goods, especially if you want that quick spell back. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can only do it once per turn though, but still that's pretty good. Okay,
but
yeah,
cool
go ahead.
The cool thing too is you can increase on your opponent's turn, you can increase your monster's attack by normally it's going to be 3,000. So you buff your dragon by 3,000, and then on your turn you get to recur your spell card. So it's like it's very very versatile, and like the fact that it's a hard once per turn for each effect doesn't really matter since it's a trap, and it almost kind of makes it better in a way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah, yeah. Definitely makes sense. I just think it's going to take time to get there. Now, you did say it's a quick effect, so if I have Moonmere Shield, would that just gives me 100 more than my opponent. It doesn't increase my attack, does it?
So even if Moonmere Shield did buff you, and this is one thing I wanted to get across, is that my only gripe with this card is that for as much investment as you put into it, the best protection it has is battle protection, and that's the issue with this card. I'm not saying it had to be Dragoon levels of protection, but I feel like they could have given it targeting protection or at least destruction protection to give it some little protection, but they just didn't do that.
So the continuous spell actually provides protection in this deck. Also, if you play cards like Return of the Dragon Lord, you can protect.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Return of the Dragon Lord's a good one.
That is actually true. I didn't think about Return.
So when I've been playtesting the deck, I haven't really found like too much found like me struggling for protection, because I'll either have a return already in the graveyard that I use, or I'll have the continuous spell if I really need to protect it. So it's definitely like, yeah, I do see that's a valid point, but there's definitely ways to play around that.
Awesome.
That is good to bring up.
Awesome. What about the Arm Dragon level 10 white? What do you guys think about that one? Do you think you'll play that more than you would the Thunder level 10?
I wish it was. No. Well, it's good. I wish it was more like Dark Arm Dragon.
Yeah.
That would have been so cool to have like a Dark Arm Dragon retrain for light.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially considering they're literally giving Honest to retrain. So imagine they retrained Honest and Dad in the same year. Oh my goodness.
Oh, people would have went nuts if that happened. And I would have liked to have seen that because you're putting cards into the grave constantly. So it would have been very easy to get cards out that way or to get it out if it had that effect. Yeah, I agree. Grunt, your thoughts? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carlos. Finish what you're saying.
I was going to say, if it had that effect, you couldn't play it in this deck because none of the monsters are light. Nope.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, because they're all wind. Yeah, that's a good point.
I wish it was like a standalone card, but like as like a support for this deck, it's not bad. Like it's an extender, so you could like it helps you push for game at the very least.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is that so I'm not saying that this pushes the deck into a better position. I guess my point is that it is a tool with some use because first things first, it does search out White Veil and minus White Veil's burn effect, which doesn't hurt you because White protects you from all burn damage.
Mm-hmm.
White Veil's a decent equipped spell. You know, it gives you a Feather Duster on destruction of an opponent's monster. It negates face-up spell and traps on attack declaration. Like White Veil is probably the one thing that makes this solid, and it's just an extender to summon out while you already have level 10. I think that if anything, it gives you a niche upside against burn decks.
Yeah. And I mean, I think its effect is decent too, that when it's attacking at the start of the damage step, you can destroy a card on the field. So that's nice too. I do like that actually. And like you're saying, it is an extender. So so that's why I kept going back and forth on which one I'd want out more. If I would want the Armed Level Dragon White or if I would want the Armed Thunder Dragon level 10.
So you want the Armed Thunder Dragon you want the level 10 out more because it's better. But White can easily be out on the same time because if you open your full dragon combo, literally any combination of the dragons you already have in the graveyard gets you to White. You can either banish a 10, you can banish 2 5s, or you can banish a 3 and a 7, and you'll get that free special summon. So like it's not like a one or the other in this deck. It's like you can do both very easily.
Yeah. No, makes sense.
And from a funny casual perspective, I don't believe any of the cards lock you into types. So if you want to be that guy, you could technically summon Gustav Max for game.
Oh.
Yeah, you could summon Gustav Max, and then you could go into Zeus, which is really funny.
That's hilarious. I didn't even think of that. I like it. Very nice, Grunt. I like the tech choice there. Okay, let's go on to the cards that you brought up earlier here, Carlos. The Dark Honest. I was really, really hyped when I saw this announced. It seemed like Twitter just exploded as soon as this was released or it was announced that it's coming. And for years, people have been wanting something like this. I really would have liked maybe instead of Dark Honest, a different name change. I've heard some people say Dishonesty or different plays like that. But the card effect is very similar to regular Honest. The first effect is exactly the same, where if it's on the field, you can return this face-up card from the field to the hand. That's exactly the same. The second effect, though, is different. So during the damage step, when your dark monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. That opponent's monster loses attack equal to its attack until the end of this turn. So I find that pretty interesting that it takes it all the way down to 0. Grunt, do you like the irregular Honest better, or do you like the Dark Honest better? Which one do you prefer? Or are they about the same for you?
Okay, so I think it depends on the way you look at things. In my opinion, Dark Honest will probably see more play than Honest does currently, if at all, because let's be honest here, Dark is definitely much more represented than Light.
Right,
and
yeah.
That's a big fact. My one gripe is that one of the nice things about Honest is that you could use it both offensively and defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And like the biggest thing is that if you use Honest against your opponent's monster and suddenly your attack is like 5,000, there's a good chance nothing else is attacking over you.
Yeah.
My issue with Dark Honest is that it protects you from one battle, and if they still have something that can swing over your monster, well, too bad. Dark Honest only does that one battle, and
Yeah.
that's not even going into gimmicks like multiple attackers. So I think it's good. I just don't think it's as good as Honest.
I agree. Yeah, I noticed that as well, that it's only for that monster. So that could be a huge deal that it's just the one, because then the other one could possibly get over. Carlos, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I want to start off by saying I totally agree that I want Dishonest to be the name of this card, and honestly, fuck, honest crap.
I know it's too easy with the puns, right? It's just too easy.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the name translation for the OCG, and the TCG absolutely loves to change translations. So I'm almost 100% sure that this card is going to be called Dishonest in the TCG, and I'm also almost 100% sure that Scrap Raptor is probably going to be called Scraptor in the TCG as well.
I hope so.
Because they love their name puns. And you guys pretty much covered everything about this card. One thing I did want to point out that I found pretty cute is like if a dark monster and a light monster battles each other, and one person chains Honest and the other person chains, I'm just gonna call it Dishonest, and the other person chains Dishonest, both of the monsters will be in theory destroyed because depending on the way the chains resolve, like Honest will boost, or Dishonest will drop the attack, and then Honest will boost it back up to the attack of the attacking monster, and they'll just literally cancel each other out. So this light and dark like battle, these two cancel each other out, which I find pretty funny.
Wow, I didn't even think about the chaining back and forth. That's a great point. So yeah, so it's definitely, in my opinion, inferior to the regular Honest, but still, it's very nice that Konami's listening to the community and giving us something like this. Now, going on.
The last thing I did want
go ahead.
Too is I wish this just feels like a couple of years too late. Like I wish this released in like around 2010. Like 2 years.
Couple years. That's a decade, Carlos.
Yeah. I know, but I'm just saying. I think it's too late.
Yeah. I share that sentiment because I remember like writing a little review on the Samorg archetype, and I made the joke that Samorg took a few extra years to show his emo side because it took Dark Samorg, I think, till Stardust Overdrive to get its printing. Dark Honest really took its time to come out as a dark counterpart, because I can't remember the last time we got a dark counterpart.
Yeah.
They tend to wait a couple of years to do stuff, like especially because when you read this is like similar but like kind of relevant. When you read Cyframe crap, what's the normal monster?
Overdrive?
No, the Cyframe Driver. When
Driver,
you read
thank
Cyframe
you.
Driver, its flavor text literally mentions Security Force, and that was 5 years ago. So they had the foresight to plan Security Force 5 years in advance.
Oh wow!
And so I always talk to my girlfriend, like, it's so weird just how far ahead Konami actually plans stuff. Because, like, if you look to, this is random, but there's like a trap card in like the GX era called like Astro Shield or something that has Astral from Zexal on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, how'd they have the foresight to put him on a card in GX, man? That's 2 generations before Zexal.
It's pretty amazing just how far down the pipeline they have things planned out, which is great. It's really good that they have themes that they want to explore. And I do like that about the company, which shows us that they have product planned for many years, which I'm very thankful for. I think that's really good. Moving on here to the next, and thank you for sharing that. Moving on to Drytron, though, I cannot believe this card is even happening. Drytron is already so powerful, but they are getting Xyz Monster, and for all of you who play competitively, you have seen Xyz monsters like crazy that require just level ones, and people are going nuts with the deck with it because they can make Zeus. But here's the card that's coming with it. I can't believe this. So notice the effects you can only use once per turn each, which I find interesting. So if this card is Xyz summon, you can send one Drytron card from your deck to the graveyard, which can be your starter. If you attribute a monster for a ritual summon or monsters, you can detach the appropriate Xyz materials from this card instead. And then the third one, when an opponent's spell trap card is activated while you control a machine ritual monster, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This is a really strong card. Grunt, I know you play Drytron. What is your thinking on this? Do you think it's just crazy support, or do you think it's because they're going to hit something in the Drytron engine? I was talking with KC Games, and he had mentioned maybe Benton getting hit. Do you think that something like that's going to be the reason why they're giving this support to the deck?
So there's two ways you can look at this. You could look at it that way, where you discussed with Casey about Ben 10 getting hit, which I think is very likely. I think Ben 10 being at 3 is crazy. I love the deck, and even I'll admit Ben 10 at 3 is kind of crazy for the resource gains. I will say this, though, and this is the one counter argument I've seen. I'm not 100% sure about this because I don't follow the OCG religiously, but from what I've heard, Drytron has not seen nearly as much experimentation and play over there to the extent it has here.
Oh, wow.
So it's possible that Konami didn't really have enough, like, they might have had foresight with this, but again, the TCG is using it just now, and Konami probably had this Xyz in the plans for, we were just talking about planning, they probably had this Xyz planned 2 years ago or something, whenever they were, drawing up the ideas for Drytron. So my thoughts are, Konami didn't think about the interactions with Ben 10, or they're just waiting to make this deck good. And I'll bet you this, if Ben 10 and other parts of Drytron don't get hit by the time we get the Xyz, I feel like it's going to be like Zoo. The deck isn't going to even last a year before they heavily nerf it after the Megatins or something, if they do reprint them.
Which would really be tough for a lot of players who are invested. Right now, it is a nice budget version. Outside of the spell card that's around 40, the rest of the deck is honestly not that expensive. So that would stink if it ends up getting hit as hard as Zodiac is. I thought you did a fantastic job, by the way you grinded when you were playing an anti-meta deck. And boy, you just really grinded away through that, almost making it seem like you were going to make the comeback, and you did. It was amazing. So props to you on that. That was really something.
So the biggest distinction I'll make real quick that people probably I didn't even remember this until I was doing that, because he happened to have skill drain out.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about Drytron that I forgot about is that technically, when they're special summoning themselves, they're also activating their effects. So you can't ash them after they're successfully summoned, for example, and they're doing a search. And you're able to get around things like skill drain because technically the effect is resolving on the field, but it's activating in your hand.
Yes.
And that's just, or a grave, and that's bonkers. It's definitely,
yes.
Again, it gets around a floodgate. It gets around a floodgate that people have at 1 right now. It's just...
Same thing. The same thing with Virtual World. The Virtual Worlds activate in the hand. And even though they special summon, the effect is activated in the hand, so you can't skill drain Virtual World. Which is why I play that in like a Virtual World deck, and everyone's like, "What the hell?" And then like when I still combo off, even through a skill drain, they're like, "God, like how is that possible?"
Yeah, that's just amazing.
If anything, if people really want to stop Drytron, I mean, here's the tech. Don't worry about skill drain. Get mind drain or get Necro
yes,
Valley.
That would hurt hard. Yes, or Necro Valley, yes. Because the grave and hand effects are then shut off. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Carlos, your thoughts on this Xyz monster? I mean, wow. What are your what are you thinking with it?
It's broken. like the fact that it has... So it's a foolish burial on summon, which is ridiculous. Like any deck can benefit from that, or pretty much any deck can benefit from that. On top of the fact that it's a foolish burial, it literally it helps you with the ritual. Like it makes ritual summoning easier in the deck. And this deck is like ritual deck, and it's like probably the easiest way to ritual summon ever. And then on top of that, you can use it as a Zeus material.
That's what
And
I
it's
thought. Yep.
what what more could you want in an XCs? Like this card's literally perfect for the deck.
Oh, I completely agree. And Grunt, you said, it's going to be interesting to see where they go nerfing wise in the future with Drytron now that they see just how much work it's putting in the current meta. Okay.
So I do want to say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
If they do hit Drytron, I really don't want them to I don't want it to be Ben 10 that gets hit, because that'd be another example of like a card outside of a card in an archetype.
Yep, that gets hurt. Yeah.
Archetypes abusing it. If they're gonna hit Drytron, hit the quick or hit the normal spell that special summons from the deck. Like that would severely limit the deck, and I feel like that's definitely the way to go.
Isn't there the tech, though, of Where Art Thou? Doesn't that do something similar?
Okay, well, if that's the case, they need to limit the Alpha Thubin. I think that's the main starter, right?
I think so. Is that right, Grant?
Alpha Thubin, yes. Alpha Thubin's your main starter because if you don't have Ben 10, it'll let you just add a Ben 10, and that's when you can start getting your searches.
I think what I would do is I would limit Alpha Thubin to 1. You still have the you still have the normal spell to special summon from the deck, and you can still reuse it multiple times in a duel. The problem with it then would be it'd be susceptible to stuff like DD Crow or like Call by the Grave, and then that would really hurt the deck. So it would at least give the deck a kind of choking point, a natural choking point.
Okay, that makes sense to me. That does. Let's go ahead and move on here. So when I saw that this was being released in Lightning Overdrive, I thought, well, kind of late here to the party, guys, with this Light Charmer. So the reason I say that, why wasn't this included in the structure deck? It could have easily been included in there, and I just think it's kind of a waste of a card to put into Overdrive. That's just my own personal feeling. Carlos, your thoughts?
So I'll tell you exactly why. All of the Charmer Link monsters have a Starlight Rare, and the Light and the Dark Charmer are definitely going to have a Starlight Rare as well.
Okay.
This is literally this is for no other reason, just so that they can complete the set. And so it's not because it's in the set. It's not going to take away the Starlight reprint slot.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's pretty much the main thing.
So it was a money situation because people love the art of the cards. Okay.
Yeah, and people really enjoy collecting the Starlight Rare Charmers. Like that's a thing people are doing, and it's kind of crazy.
Okay, makes sense. That makes complete sense to me. Because when I didn't know that, so when I saw this card when it was announced, I'm going, really? We just had the structure deck and you're now giving us this, it just makes sense. Put it in there. But now that I know that it's getting a special rarity, they seem to have a regular version that you could get that's more affordable, and then the collector side. So I could easily see that. Moving on to this next card here. It's pretty interesting, this fusion monster. So it's going to be very easy to fusion summon. Just one spellcaster monster with one dragon monster. And the first effect, it doesn't really matter that much to me, where it loses 100 attack for each of your banished cards. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's the second effect that's pretty interesting. If a monster or monsters is special summoned by its own activated monster effect, or by the activated effect of a monster with the same original type as it, you can target one of those monsters, banish that target, and all monsters with the same original type as it from the field. So what do you feel about that, Grunt? Do you think that's a pretty good card? Do you think it's going to be played often?
So I've been talking with people about this card because on one hand, I think the removal effect is very good. My issue is that people have been citing it as a super poly target, and my issue with that is that unless you're like, I could see them maybe running this in Invoked if they happen to run Super Poly in the side or something.
Yeah.
The issue I have with it is that the fact that it requires two different types of monsters, types that might not even be on the field together, it's not a good Super Poly target in my opinion, or at least not as good as Starving Venom. And if you're not super polying it, you've got to run a deck that runs spellcasters and dragons. So unless there's the best combo I can tell you right now is you'll summon Dragoon, and then if you have Magicalized Fusion, you'll Magicalized Fusion to summon this card during your next turn, or you'll do it as a quick play on your opponents.
Okay.
That's probably the best interaction I see with this.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Even just with Necrofusion, yeah, I could see that. Carlos, your thoughts?
Like the removal's kind of cool. I don't really seeing much play if there's not a deck tailored around it.
Mm-hmm.
He said super poly target. I really don't see it. It's such a unique kind of. It's the materials are unique. So yeah. The neat thing is if Dragoon was still legal when this card came out, which I'm not sure if it would be or will be or not, but you could use Alistair and Dragoon to fuse this, which is pretty funny.
Oh yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
poly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with how you and Grunt are saying that there's a better super poly target. However, I could see some people playing this just because they want to try it out and see the interaction, especially if there is at some point a meta dragon deck or a meta spellcasters deck. So I think it will be interesting to see for sure. But I agree with you. There are some better super poly targets right now. Moving on here.
So,
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Grant.
So the one thing I will say is that there's one deck I could see using this as super poly, and I'll say it real quick, is that Dragon Link. If Dragon Link is still relevant, Dragon Link does if they open with super poly, they do have a more reliable out to Dragoon because one dragon, one spellcaster, you get this guy. That's probably the best deck I could think of is you're using it to out Dragoon in a dragon based deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best super poly situation you'll have with it.
No, makes sense to me. Makes complete sense. Moving on to some other cards, we see some more support coming, which I am always excited to see for different archetypes. So the Ignister Link card, I think, is pretty good because of the search here. So it says you can only use each of these cards' names 1 and 2 effects once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can add 1 Ignister AI land from your deck to your hand. Secondly, when a Cyberse monster with 2300 original attack activates its quick effect, you can move this card to your main monster zone it points to. Then you can change this card's attribute to any attribute until the end of this turn. So I do like it for the search situation. I think that's pretty good. I don't play Ignisters myself. Do any of you guys play them on a regular basis?
So
I've played with them a bit, and I will say right now, before Carlos adds his input, that this is definitely what the deck needed.
Okay. All right, and then Carlos, you're thinking?
Okay, yeah. So I actually own the deck in real life.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, and so the problem with Adignisters is that you would so rely on the yellow Ignister in your hand, because that's the one that when it's normal summoned, you could add the Ignister Island. You relied on that card so much, or Sign It Mining, that like if you didn't open a way to get to it, your deck pretty much just didn't function. Now that any Ignister card turns into a 1-card combo, it's crazy.
So yeah, so it sounds like you agree with Grunt. This is exactly what the deck needed.
For sure. Awesome. It definitely is.
Awesome. Speaking of decks that might need more, Grunt, I know that you are very close to finishing the Evil Twins, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I just got the last of my links today, so I'm going to be building an Evil Twin deck in real life.
Yeah, and so how do you feel about this extender? It says here it's live twin, something frost. And it says you can only special summon with the way of this card's first effect once per turn. You can only use this card's second effect once per turn. If you control a Lila monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So that's nice. It's an extender right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is interesting too. If your opponent adds a card or cards from their deck to their hand by a card effect, and there's so much of that going on right now, and you control an evil twin monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard and draw one card. So do you like it? Do you think it's going to be great for the deck?
So, and this kind of extends to Lila Treat, because I think we are getting Lila Treat in Blazing Vortex. My issue with this and Lila Treat are that they both need to be in your hand, and there are ways to search them. It's just that if you don't need them, like I guess my point is the original Lila and Kiss a Kill get out the links well enough that you probably don't need to have extenders that rely on being in your hand or being like garnets.
Mm-hmm.
And even their grave effects are decent, but like you're already going to be drawing with the Kiss a Kill link. This one just feels like it might be too little too late if you're trying to get an extra draw off of a Foolish, because you already probably negged to get it in the graveyard.
Okay, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Carlos, do you think this will be used by players, or do you think that it's going to be like Grunt saying it's a little too late?
I definitely think it's going to be used by players. I think I'm personally a lot more high on it than he is, simply for the fact that Evil Twin literally dies to pretty much any hand trap in the game currently. Like if you normal summon any of your or live twins rather, if you normal summon any of your live twins, and you get hit with like any hand trap like Effect Veiler, Ash Blossom, Infinite Permanence, you literally can't do anything. And so they desperately need extenders. And granted, the quick play spell is an extender in the deck, but if you don't have that, like you're pretty much screwed. And so giving them a way to extend if their initial combo gets interrupted is so crucial in this deck. And I can't understate just how much they needed this.
Okay, that I could see your thinking on that, and I appreciate both opinions. I think that they're very helpful, especially for everyone in the chat. If you guys have any thoughts on that, please let us know. We'd love to hear what you're thinking too. Moving on, we got Plunder Patrol here, and so it's nice that it is getting some more support. Me personally, this is probably a deck that I'll slowly build over time, just because I do like the deck. But right now, I think I'm going to be moving more with the Adamancipator still. But when I look at this deck, so the card reads, you can use each effect among the 1 and 2 effects with this card's name only once per turn. First one, you can target one Plunder Patrol monster in your graveyard except Ravenwing, the Plunder Patrol pilot. You cannot special monsters for the rest of this turn except Plunder Patrol monsters. Also, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, add that target to your hand. And then 2, if this card is sent from the hand or monster zone to the graveyard, you can target one Plunder Patrol monster card in your spell and trap zone, special summon it in defense position. Carlos, what do you think about this for that archetype?
So I like it. They don't have too many extenders, and the problem with the deck is like they really needed some. They were, in fact, they were playing some cards from outside the archetype, like Silent Angler, to kind of supplement the fact that they didn't really have anything going in terms of extender wise. So this definitely does the job. And on top of the fact that it's an extender, it also gives you resources back. So overall, really good card design. I think this is probably going to be a 3 of in the Plunder Patrol deck. And I really don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid too. Grunt, do you think that this is definitely the right step for the archetype?
Played Plunder Patrol much. I do know that one of their biggest issues early on, especially, was that they just didn't have a big enough main deck support of monsters to get them through. And now they have a good main deck going, and the fact that they have an extender now is very good. Honestly, I think they're well on their way to doing a good job. I think they might just want a few more extra deck options.
Yes.
Especially for the Earth attribute, because Wind, I could see them not caring about Wind, but they need something for Earth because they only have Dark, Light, Fire, and Water right now. I feel like Earth is the one they really need now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I still feel that's the issue with the deck. It needs a little bit more extra deck-wise. Just based on different people I know that are playing the deck, that's one of their biggest complaints is they feel like they need just a little bit more to make it really pop. So yeah, I think it's a good start. And I do like all this support from Konami. I mean, you think about this, You've got Ignisters, you've got the new Evil Twin archetype, now you've got Plunder Patrol. It is nice to see them constantly supporting different archetypes. So pretty excited to see that they're continuing in that way. Now, we've got some spells that are also going to be released in this set, which are pretty interesting. The first one here, I'm curious what you guys are thinking with it. I think it could be kind of funky and a little tricky. And it's only a normal spell. I think it would be much better if it was a quick play. But it's Kuriway or Kuriway, and it says target one link one monster or one link one monster. There we go. In either graveyard, shuffle it into the extra deck or special summon it to its owner field. So it's kind of like a Monster Reborn, or it's putting things back. Grunt, do you think it's going to be used very often?
So, I think this does have some applications. I think one of the biggest ones I see right now is if Salamangreat happens to be more relevant, this could help with removing Baylings. This could be something to get rid of Link Rebo if they got. I don't think it's gonna be like it's not gonna be a fist clencher, but it's gonna be something that can get you through, and it's got some applications.
Yeah,
and the fact that it can bring back your own Link one, I mean, there's uses.
Yeah, I thought there was some good interaction too, and I didn't even think about the Salamangreat idea there, because Baylings is very frustrating to deal with sometimes. But I was thinking of Link Haribo, because there's so many ways that card can come back. So I like that I could possibly find a way to get rid of it so it's not annoying in that way. Carlos, do you think that it's going to be used, or do you think it's going to be more of a side option?
It'll probably be used, but I feel like it's one of those cards that when it comes out, it's not going to be good. But like maybe a couple years down the line, there'll be an archetype where this deck will, or this specific card will be broken in.
Yeah,
it just kind of has that feeling to it.
Okay, so you're telling me pick them up now while they're cheap.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a common too.
It looks like it'll be a common.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
it'll
too.
It'll be a super at most.
Yeah, and as long as it's cheap and I can pick up a play set, I'm good. I like to make sure I get stuff that might be good down the line cheap while I can. Now, the next card here, Carlos, I am super, super excited about the moment you showed it to us in the Discord. So, Book of Lunar Eclispe. So, discard one card, then target 2 face-up monsters on the field and change them to face-down defense position. Now, I already know Book of Moon has been coming back into the meta in a big way. Do you think that this is going to see quite a bit of play?
I think it'll be a decent going second option. It's probably going to be a side deck card. It all depends on what's the meta at the time. If there's, I don't know, I can't really think of what's the meta. Drytron, Dogmatica, Invoked. I don't know. I definitely think it's good, and it's really cool that they're retraining an iconic card again, like we talked about already. I think it's probably gonna take a very specific meta to see this card really be dominant.
Yeah. Well, and with fusion monsters, this does nothing because you can still fuse unless they have to be face up or something in order for an effect to happen. And then I could see it at least delaying some situations, like because you can't synchro face down, nor can you link face down. So there are some applications. Grunt, your thoughts?
So one thing that does come to mind, well, two things I should say. The first thing that was brought up in a video by DP Yugioh is that unlike Twin Twisters, this thing absolutely has to target 2 monsters. It doesn't have the niche ability to only flip one if you want it to. So against certain decks that are link climbing, this might not be the most effective. The best interruption I can think of outside of fusions and whatnot is that you can interrupt link plays if you block some of the zones they're pointing to if they're trying to link climb. that's the best I can think of link-wise. Otherwise, maybe you can stop a synchro summon. I would say it stops calamities, but hopefully calamities is banned by the time this thing comes out. We'll see.
No, I see what you're saying there. Great points, both of you. Appreciate that. That makes complete sense to me. Now, some other cards that we're getting in Overdrive that I just thought were interesting that have just been announced as well. The first one here, Dark Eye Nightmare, and how the card works, you can banish up to 3 traps from your graveyard, and depending on the number of traps you banish, you get effects. So the first one, you draw 1 card, then you place 1 card in your hand on top of the deck. The second one is you draw 1, or if you banish 2, you get to draw just 1 card. And then if you banish 3, you get to draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. And then the second effect, once per turn, if this card would be destroyed by battle, you can banish 1 trap from your graveyard instead. What are your thoughts on that, Carlos? What do you think?
I mean, the banish 3 card, the effects. I mean, all the effects are kind of good. It's just it's so slow because it requires traps to be in your graveyard, and so literally, if you open this card going first, it's dead. And so it's probably not good because of that. So.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense to me. I agree with that. Grunt, are you thinking something similar?
So here's the issue. A lot of decks that run a lot of traps normally want ways to recur them.
Yep.
Someone, I'm sure, thought when they saw this, oh, I'll run this in Paleos. Don't run this in
No,
Paleos.
that would be a disaster. Yes.
You're banishing all your resources, and unless you're running some sort of mass mill, which ironically, the best way to mass mill is Needlebug Nest, and that's another trap. It's just too slow. By the time you're gaining advantage off of it, I just feel like you're probably losing. Reckless Greed, in my opinion, is better for trap center deck to run.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Lair of Darkness structure deck when I saw this card, because I know everything on the field becomes dark. Then you have lots of traps that you use to remove your opponent's cards. And then I could possibly see something like that fitting in there. That was my thinking when I first saw the card. The next card here, man, literally, it's called Secret Hot Springs, but to me, it's just a hot mess. So it's Secret Hot Springs of the Far East Field spell. This is so interesting because each player can use this. So once per turn during each player's main phase 2, the turn player can gain 500 life points, and if they do, apply these effects for the rest of the turn. That player's monster's normal and special summons cannot be negated. If that player activates a spell, trap card, or a monster effect that includes an effect for that special summon of a monster, that activation cannot be negated. That player's set spells and traps cannot be targeted by or destroyed by their opponent's card effects. Holy moly. Okay, so Grant, I'll start with you this time. What do you think of this?
So, Chicken Game and Magical Midbreaker Field had a child out of wedlock, because this is a card that benefits both people, and it gives you the same protection, and it's not as busted as either of those. It's not as busted as Chicken Game, obviously. It's not going to give you any crazy things. Personally, the first 2 effects, very relevant. Essentially, you can... Essentially, if you're going second now and you want to get, like, effects off, like, I think the biggest thing is that it lets you extend through your summons. The only thing that, I don't know, it can't negate normal, and it prevents normal and special summons from being negated. It protects you from using cards like Polymerization, and it lets you extend. My issue is that I feel like a lot of decks that are going second that are going to run this, because again, if you're going first and you activate this, you're not going to get the benefits off of it.
Absolutely, right. I thought this is a definite go second card. Yep, absolutely. Keep going though with your thinking.
Like, the issue is that go second decks, there's going to be a deck that loves this. I'm not saying this card is bad. I'm just saying that, like, when second deck, I think of dinosaurs or fluffles. I think of something that wants to punch you in the gut, not something that wants to try and extend and survive another turn and let your opponent
use the card after that.
And the last effect, in my opinion, isn't relevant right now, just because most spell and trap removal is either going to happen before your opponent realizes what's going on, or they're going to do it during their turn anyway, because this only protects you for your turn. I don't know. It's
it's
I'm
interesting.
sure this is gonna see play. This is gonna see play in some deck. I just don't see it right now. I'm sure somebody's gonna find a broken way to use it, just like Chicken Game and Midbreaker Field.
Yep. Great points. Great points. Carlos, your take on the card.
So, in a format where people are starting to play continuously, people are continuously starting to play more and more traps, and combos kind of starting to get phased out of the meta. This is a card that could really help combo, because if you're going against a control deck and you're playing combo, right, and you want to set up your negates, the normal summon 90% of the time, if the normal summon is interrupted and your turn has to just end,
you're
done. Absolutely, you're done. Like they'll just, the control deck will grind you to death, right? I like this for the fact that it lets combo players play, but it also gives up an adequate amount in the fact that they can't use their main phase 1 or their battle phase. So essentially, all they can do is set up their combo.
Yeah.
And so, which in combo decks, that is more than enough to win. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's. I feel like it's balanced. I feel like this is probably going to be played in combo decks, so that they don't have to get punished by control decks. And that's basically where I see this card making its bread and butter.
Yeah, and I agree. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead there, Grunt.
Yeah, I'll just say it real quickly. I think that the big thing for me, and the reason why I don't see where this is going to land right now, I'm sure it's going to land somewhere, I just don't know where, is because it only helps with summoning. And that's my one thing, is that, sure, they're not going to solemn your summon, but they could always have a strike and top you if you're using an effect for extension, or if you're trying to rota, they can still interrupt a rota. They can't stop summons, but they can stop searching or milling. They can stop anything else that's not summon based, and that's probably the one, like the big hole in this whole card.
Yeah, but my thing is, even if they like negate the effect, a lot of combo decks. I know Dragoon's probably going to be banned, but like combo decks have ways to, like, as long as they still have a monster on the field, they can extend. They can make something happen. Like if you have 2 monsters on the field, that's basically that is Dragoon. So like what they don't want is for their monsters, for their resource to be lost. And as long as their resource sticks on the field, they'll have a way to extend.
Yeah, good points, guys. Yeah, really good points. I do think it's going to be. Yeah, I do think it's going to be played. Like you were saying, Grunt, I can easily see people who go second doing this, but then their goal is to make sure that they just completely OTK their opponent, because they're not going to want their opponent then to use the card. So it's interesting. I can't wait to see how some people use it.
You can't OTK your opponent, because this can only happen on main phase 2. So
you're right. Yeah, that's a great point.
This is a card for combo deck. Basically, if you're going against a control deck, you make full combo, hopefully, and hope that your opponent doesn't have like Ash or anything. But you make full combo, and then let's say you have like a Borreload Savage and just other negates. Then if your opponent tries to activate the traps, then you could use your Omni negates. Is the thought process.
There's one situation that this card gives me a heart attack with, and that's that if there's a deck like Virtual World that's going second with this, technically they can just go to main phase 2, use this effect, and protect all of their summoning effects.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
and then they get Calamities.
They'll get a Calamities that can't be negated by, like, you can't solve it now. That's the one.
Yeah.
I just hope Calamities is hit now, because that's the one. That's one interaction I see with this right now, is it lets you get big negates out.
And that's the thing. Any card or any deck that can make Calamities, and there's quite a few, because Adamancipator can do it as well. Dinosaurs can do it as well. There's lots of different decks I've seen that are making Calamities. So that's a great point, because this protects you from at least getting what you want to establish on the field. So yeah, pretty interesting thoughts, guys. Appreciate that. The next one here, I was pretty excited when I saw this Scrap Raptor. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's a dinosaur, level 4, and it's a tuner, which I think is very interesting here. Okay, so you can only use this card's 1 and 2 effects once per turn each. So 1, you can target one monster you control, destroy it, and if you do during the main phase of the rest of this turn, you can normal summon one scrap monster in addition to your normal summon or set. And then the second, if this card is destroyed by a scrap card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add one scrap factory or one non-tuner scrap monster from your deck to your hand. Carlos, where do you think players are going to be using this card? Because it seems very interesting to me.
This card is bonkers in like 3 or 4 different decks. It's just ridiculous. So let's start with the obvious, right? It's a dinosaur.
Yes.
You can literally search this off Console Dig.
Yep.
Which is crazy. On top of the fact that it's a dinosaur, you mentioned it already. It's a scrap tuner, which means you can also summon this off of Scrapyard.
Yep.
So instantly you have 9 copies of this card, which is an amazing extender in your deck. And it's like I'm living good because the probability at that point is looking real high that I'm gonna open my good extender. Now, the actual card is broken in several decks.
Mm-hmm.
This card is broken in dinos because you can pop your baby dinos to get extra normal summon, and then if you normal summon the I can't remember a scrap recycler, you can foolish burial a machine, and it's like, come on, man! And then you could literally do the same thing in Orcus, and it's like this card, and scrap too. This card is literally a 1-card combo in like 3 or 4 different decks, and it's like, who had the foresight to make this thing? Like, this thing's broken. Also, you know very well this thing's gonna be a secret rare. It's gonna be 100+ powers. Ridiculous.
Yes, this card is quite scary to me. The moment I read it, I sent it to KC Games, and we were both talking about how good it is. So, Grunt, your thought here, do you think it's going to be super broken as well? I mean, I agree with Carlos. I think it's going to be pretty broken. But what's your take?
Okay. Goodbye, Misk. I'll miss you. No, I won't. You're going to 1. Misk is going to 1 with this card at least, because the card already has so many ways to search it. Misk does not need to be around with this guy at 3. I'm in a few Orcus groups, and I've seen people experimenting. There's literally people who are trying Scrap Orcus Dinosaur.
Oh, wow.
They're seeing okay results with it, because here's the thing. You summon this guy, and again, this guy does more, ironically, than Gearsu does. You know, everyone was like, oh, Gearsu and Dark Neostorm, that's going to be an amazing bonkers card. Yeah, no, Gearsu's done stuff, but this guy does more, because not only does he give you an additional normal summon and let you deck thin, he lets you get your scrap recycler out. He makes it much less bricky for you to have a scrap golem, and he does so much for so many decks. Like you said, I can't really sum up better than what Carlos said, but this is going to be an ironic secret rare of a scrap card that people are going to be way more hyped for outside of pure scrap decks.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny you mentioned Gearsu, because Gearsu would have been poggers if they freaking didn't ban Harp Horror. Like, that's literally the one downside. Harp Horror.
Oh yeah,
What ticks me off is this guy pretty much tells me we're not getting Harp back to 1, and that breaks my heart.
Oh no. Yeah, a lot of players are calling for Harp to come back to 1, and I think this sealed the deal that it won't be, because that would hurt the deck so much. Or help the deck so much, yeah.
You know what this format needs, like, unironically? It needs the cards that were banned, like, 2 formats ago. Like, it needs Harp Horror to 1. It needs, like, Thunder Dragon, Engage to 1. It needs, like, Thunder Dragon Colossus to 1. Like,
definitely Colossus.
I was so mad. I was so mad, like, 2-3 formats ago when they had that big ban list and they banned, like, everything. Because at that point in Yu-Gi-Oh!, like almost like you had like 3 or 4 or 5 meta decks that were topping, and it's like, guys, why are we mad here? Like, we have so much diversity in the game. Like Salamangreats are topping, Sky Strikers are topping, Orchestra's topping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The game's really healthy and diverse, and everyone wanted to like scapegoat everything. Like, oh my god, there's so many things wrong with the format. And sure enough, they banned everything. That's what happened. Now we have a degenerate format with Virtual World, VFD. All this is your fault, people. Stop complaining.
Continue going off on a tangent here because I know people who are out there like, no, don't bring back Colossus. Colossus is busted. Okay, I get it. Colossus at 3 would be busted because you can just spam it out multiple times, and I get that. More than one Colossus, kind of crazy. I'm just saying, one Colossus would be fine and balanced because you've got a choke point. If you banish the Colossus or anything at all to get rid of it, I mean, Dogmatica could get it out before
Just
you
to
even
get
summon
rid of it.
Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, is it really that busted to stop searching when a lot of the top meta contenders like Drytron and Virtual World are doing nothing but searching? I don't know. I'm just saying it's a nice anti-meta choice.
So that's an interesting point you make because I am definitely not a Colossus guy. I haven't been since the card was released. However, with the amount of searching that's going on, and you even see it in people's tech choices, Droll and Lockbird is everywhere in the side deck for a lot of people right now. And so I think that this might be the time to bring it back to 1. I didn't think I'd ever say that, but I think there's enough interruption to where you could take care of the card if you needed to, but it at least stops your opponent from searching as much as they are. So great points, guys.
And while we're talking about limited cards, you need to bring back Trickstar Light Stage. I'm tired of Trickstar Light Stage being at 1.
Yes.
I understand Trickstar Orcus and with Engage was a bad thing, but first things first, Engage is gone, and I don't think Trickstar Orcus is the optimal way to play anymore. I mean, seriously, look at Scrap Raptor over here.
Yeah.
The problem with Trickstar Orcus wasn't necessarily the Trickstars. It's a bit ironic. It's literally that any 2 cards made a Nightmare card.
Yes.
And that Nightmare card made Nightmare Mermaid, and then that was full Orcus combo. So people were using Trickstar.
No one's bringing Mermaid back.
Right, exactly. That's why it should come back.
The most broken thing you could do is like play a Trickstar engine to make Dragoon, but literally everyone's making Dragoon. Like, don't punish Trickstars. They're literally a fair deck.
Oh, I love Trickstars.
Sure. They've aged well.
Yeah,
They've aged fine.
Trickstars are one of my favorite archetypes ever. I really enjoy that deck. It's super fun. Just the little burn damage, it just gets going so crazy sometimes. I enjoy it for that reason. I liked it for the burn ability, even though I'd put it in other engines too, and it just made it fun. Going back to other support though, we've got the Paleozoic Link monster here that's been released, where it just takes 2 Paleozoic cards or monster cards. It's unaffected by other monster effects. That's a good thing. Which is just like all the other cards when they hit the field. You can target 1 face-down card in the spell and trap zone and send it to the grave. And if you do, and this is pretty interesting, set 1 Paleozoic trap from your deck directly to your field. And it can be activated this turn. I think that's just incredible for the deck. And then if a face-down card or cards you control would be destroyed by card effects, you can banish this card from your field or from the graveyard instead. I think this is exactly what that deck needs. Grunt, your thoughts?
So, here's the thing. I think that the banishing effect from the graveyard is perfectly fine. It does what you need it to do. It does protection. Yeah. My main issue is that I don't see them summoning this at all. The reason why I say that is because here's the thing. It requires 2 Paleozoics. And the biggest thing is to consider this. Paleozoics, when they leave the field, get banished. Usually, if you're summoning the Xyz, this gets circumvented. But since you're link summoning them away, the 2 materials are going to be banished. Good point. And the other issue is that Opabinia, for example, you could summon that still with a frog. Like, you could use other level 2s, and you've still got options like Toad. The issue is, this has to be 2 Paleozoics, not 2 monsters, including a Paleozoic. And on top of that, it's weaker. It doesn't have 2400 attack. They could have even said this card can't attack or something, like Opabinia, to give it, some defense in battle. I mean, and the one saving grace it has while on the field is you can target your opponent's spell and trap, but ironically, it can always be negated by something like Solemn, and then you're not able to resolve it. This is something that you could probably pitch, and if there's a good way in Paleos to pitch it, then that's
Yeah.
good. I just I don't see them summoning this because it's going to let them neg with banishing. The best you can do is summon this while you have Imperial Iron Wall on the field, and
Right, and then things can't be banished, right? Now, you bring up a good point of pitching it. Carlos, do you think that's going to be the route players take? That they're just going to find a way to send it from the extra deck to the grave?
No, I was just laughing because if you wanted to, technically you could play Dogmatica. I don't think that's what.
That's what I was thinking.
I think it's a decent enough. And granted, I'm not a Paleo expert. I think it's a decent enough card for the deck. I think like it'll maybe be a 1 of or a 2 of. I do like the effect where you can send your opponent's spell and traps to get your own resource. I think that's really neat. But like Grunt said, my biggest thing is why would you go into this when you can literally make Toad, and Toad's like Toad's so good. So it's
no, Toad's good. Yes, I agree.
I'd rather have double Toad than a Toad in one of this, but I guess in terms of like certain matchups, I guess it wouldn't be bad.
Okay.
I guess my one other thing that I want to say is that I mentioned Opabinia. In my opinion, the one thing this thing has over Opabinia is that it lets you access your deck. But even then, if you have a decent handful of traps of Paleozoics and Opabinia is on your field, Opabinia just lets you flat out activate Paleozoic traps from your hand.
Right.
Which means
right.
You'll get more investment out of it. And the cool thing is you can remove a material from Opabinia to search a Paleozoic trap from your deck. So in my opinion, Opabinia is better in all circumstances unless you really care about that MST popping your opponent's spell and trap.
Okay. Interesting, guys. I appreciate that. Let's go to the next one here. Now, right away, someone in our Discord noticed it right away when they looked at the bear. How do you have a synchro that's level 1? And I thought, wait a minute, he's right. How did that happen? And Grunt, you pointed out right away there must be something that they're doing maybe subtraction-wise, and that ended up being the case here. So we're seeing with this archetype, and I do not know how to pronounce this, guys. Do you know how to pronounce these guys? Bear something.
So the funny thing is that, like, I think in OCG they would say like Bearcti or Bearcti. The funny thing is that they've already given the TCG translation, and it's going to be Arctic, so like Ursa Arctic, so Ursa Arctic, which rolls off the tongue much better.
Okay.
Arctic.
Yeah, so like Ursa and Arctic is a portmanteau.
Oh wow, interesting.
Pretty good.
But it's better than Bearcti. Like,
yeah, this is funky. Yeah. Now, looking at this, I do like it. I like this idea of an archetype where it's a new way to synchro summon. Even though they're saying it can't be synchro summoned in its card text, it's basically synchroing just in a different way. So I like the thinking behind this. Carlos, do you like this switch? Do you think it's going to be pretty useful?
So I found this archetype pretty funny because this is essentially like what they tried to do with the Dark Signers.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering almost like if the Dark Signer decks can finally kind of come to the TCG first and foremost. Secondly, I really do think it's unique. It's not every day we get like a different kind of like a different way to expand a summoning mechanic. Like it's very rare. Like for instance, with fusions we got contact fusion. With synchros the first time around we got Excel synchro. With XCs we got the rank up gimmick.
Yeah.
So it's really not that often we get like a unique kind of gimmick. And so in terms of like actual uniqueness, I have to give this archetype 10 points out of 10 because it's unique. In terms of actual playability, I don't know. It depends, like if they're gonna get more support in the future. I think it's probably gonna be a really nice engine. The fact that all the big monsters can special summon themselves during the main phase,
Yeah.
the player's main phase, like
Either
that's
player
really
too, yeah.
that's what I said. Either players, like it's really cool, and you can get some advantage going.
Yes.
My thing is, like the fact that you have to discard a level 7, you're gonna run through your hand really, really quickly.
Well, but you get the cards back though, if I'm not mistaken. So if
Some
the
of them.
Some of them do.
yeah,
Some of them
because
do.
if the card's specialed while you control one in a Bearcti, I don't know how to say this archetype, but when you control one of these,
Arctic, just say Ursa Arctic.
there we go. When you control one of these cards and it's on the field, you typically get a card back because it hits the field with some of them. So, and I do like that it's during your opponent's turn. I think that's really unique. I do like that quite a bit because there's more interaction that way. Grunt, what's your thinking with that interaction? Do you think that's going to be pretty useful? Because I'm pretty sure you can banish cards from the grave and you can target spells and traps. Like there's that kind of interaction with these cards.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna double check right now what all their effects are because I know a few of them off the top of my hand. I think or top of my head. I think the level 8s, which are the big tuners, I think usually those have
Yeah.
more to do with your opponent, and I think it's the 7s that allow you to get some extension effects. I think one of them. Let me double check.
Well,
real
it
quick.
says here for the level 8 for the water, or they're all water ones, but
Yes.
it says here for Megapola, it says you can target one spell or trap your opponent controls, and you get to destroy it. And then you can also target one card in your opponent's graveyard, and you can banish it. And you get a body out on the field. Now, I will say that the stats on these guys, defense-wise, are not very good. They do have some nice stats attack-wise for the two we're looking at. But then for the other ones, it says here you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense so you can Book of Moon it, and then you can special summon, I forgot the archetype you just said, but one of these monsters from your hand with the other one that's the level 7.
So
yeah, all the
let's
level
see.
7s. Yeah, you get to either add hands or send cards.
So I guess the optimal way you'd want to have these guys is that you probably want to run. Logically, you'd want to run just as many 7s as 8s, if not more, because none of the 7s rely on you having another bear on the field. So theoretically, you'll summon one of the 7s first,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll probably bring out an 8, and then with depending on the deck you're facing, you've got one that pops spells and traps. You've got one that lets you target a face-up monster your opponent controls and flip it down. I
Right.
can see that one being good. It's a Book of Moon on legs
Yeah.
that can help with some interruption. I guess my biggest issue is that you're not going to really have a way to modulate your hand during your opponent's turn. So that's probably the biggest thing with the deck right now. There is a way for you to search out the ones you need, but I don't know. To me, it just feels a little clunky. This is something that's going to get a lot more better. That's going to get better down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be funky too. And one thing that's interesting as well, the level 7 stats are absolutely horrendous. To where you've only
good. It's good.
Yeah. Well, yes, it does keep things in check, but I don't know. I don't know. I think they would need to be a little bit higher. I mean, a level 7 that's got 1,700 defense, 700 attack, 2,000 defense, 700 attack. Jiminy Christmas. I mean, that's awfully low looking at these guys.
The one thing I'll say so that Carlos can weigh in on this is that the good thing about the 7s, and I honestly wish that some of the 8s are a little weaker too, and the reason why is because, in my opinion, this might be one of the first decks in a while that can really gain advantage off of salvage, because if you're done synchro summoning, or if you're pitching the 7s, you can use salvage to add resources back to your hand, or you can run Moray of Greed to shuffle your hand if you so wish. I'm not saying it's top choice, but there are some techs. My biggest issue with the deck right now is that half of them are beasts, half of them are beast warriors, and obviously since none of them are level 4, you can't use tanky. Like there's a lot of typical support you just can't splash in since they're all high level.
Okay, Carlos, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think if they got a Rhoda, that'd be good. Um, I like the fact that the level 1 synchro searches the field spell. I wish the field spell did more than it actually does. It's kind of lackluster. I mean, it has a kind of neat effect when you have 7 counters that it can like steal one of your monsters. I believe that's the field spell.
Yeah.
Or one of your opponent's monsters. Um, Overall, like I really like what they did with the archetype to start. I just think they're gonna need some more support if they really want to be meta. I'm just really excited to get this Septon trio as a collector's there, man. That thing's gonna look beautiful.
Oh, I know. It is a beautiful looking card. I agree. That thing does look really nice.
I had no idea that this archetype was gonna be polar bear freaking knights like a couple weeks ago. Like I thought it was gonna be like a mecha archetype.
Me
And
too.
I was like, oh yeah, cool. We're about to get a mecha archetype like Transformers, and then we got like polar bears in space with like Gundam. Like what the heck, bro?
Gundam is the right word too. Sorry, go ahead,
So
Grant.
it's weird to me. It's weird to me, and I'm just gonna say this off of theming. There's so much things here that just don't add up to me. It's like, okay, they're Beast Warriors. I get that, but they look mechanical. So I don't know. Part of me wishes they were all machine. I know they're not, but yeah. The point I'm thinking is they're water. I don't know why they're water. Some people were telling me, oh, but polar bears, and I'm like, nah. But 4 of the 6 main deck monsters are black bears and Asian bears. Like they're not all polar bears. Like what's the joke? Are they all water bears? Like water bears aren't bears. I don't know. I just wish they were a different attribute because if they were light, they'd have more support. If they were dark, even because they have a dark synchro mechanic, I don't know. They're interesting. The one thing I don't like about the field spell is that I feel like this is a deck that's going to want to recycle things from its graveyard, and you're not going to recycle much if you're banishing your monsters.
No, I get that. But there is a lot of specialing that I think will go on. But boy, to get 7 counters, I wonder how fast you'll be able to do that. So that's definitely going to be interesting to look at. Now, the boss monster here, Trio, it is interesting. It does have decent attack at 3,000, and then it's got the effect of the effects of all face-up monsters special summon from the extra deck that has no level are negated. So this is going to hit Xyz. That's going to hit Lynx. So that's kind of a situation there. If you're playing Dragon Link, that could be a big problem. Or if you're playing a pure Xyz strategy, even though we don't see that very much anymore, that could be really tough to deal with. Carlos, do you think that this could be a problem card, or do you think it's gonna kind of fizzle?
So I do really like the unique kind of floodgate effect it has. Like we don't really see. I don't think we've ever seen a card that really has this effect. So definitely unique, and it's definitely going to hurt specific strategies. Like Xyz decks just can't play with this.
No.
Link decks are gonna really suffer with this thing around.
Absolutely.
And then the fact that when your opponent special summons, you get to add one. Like I find that really cool. That's like one of the very few ways you get to generate resources in the deck is by this card effect. So overall, I think it's a really good boss monster. I it's kind of sad that it's relegated to the archetype it's actually in, because it's so unique and neat, and it's a good boss monster.
It is pretty good. Yeah.
It's just in a weird archetype.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Grant.
One thing I want to say that pains me about this deck is that it's all these monsters can summon themselves, and they do have interruption. I feel like this archetype is not showing us its full face, because there should be a way, in my opinion, to synchro summon on your opponent's turn a la Crystron. Because here's a big thing I'm thinking of right now, is that if this deck could summon Senton on your opponent's turn, then you could shut down strategies like Numeron. Like
that'd be a good one.
Like that's the biggest one I can think of right now, or VFW, anything, honestly, because your opponent can't attack over it.
I love that thought with Numeron. Yeah, you're so right with that. Because if you could do that, that would completely shut down lots of strategies players would have to make their Xyz monsters come out, and then of course power them up. They wouldn't be able to do any of that. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
Like, I'm hoping there's a card they haven't shown us yet, because to me, it just feels like either the field spell should have had an effect like that. Even then, you don't have, I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be a way to synchro them during your opponent's turn. Maybe someone would think that's too oppressive. I think it's fine. I don't know. I just feel like they're missing a few pieces.
Field spell should have had the effect that when this card's activated, you get to search one Bearcti monster. And then during your opponent's main phase, once per turn, quick effect, you can special summon one synchro monster from your extra deck by sending the required materials. Like, that would have been a really good field spell and kind of tied the deck together.
Yeah.
What it actually is kind of gimmicky and weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you're not going first with this, my biggest issue is that as cute as the level 1 synchro is, he is by far the deck's choke point, because you're using 2 materials on him, and if you don't have him on the field, you can't summon the level 8 synchros. Or the level 7s, you have to summon another version of him. So I just feel like the deck has too many choke points right now. So if you're not going first and your opponent Solemn's the level 1, you're done. You're probably not going to recover fast enough, and I don't know. I just feel like they need more tools to be doing more on your opponent's turn. They're so close, but they're just not there.
No, and that makes sense to me. You brought up some of the other cards, and I did want to talk about those, how effective we feel. Let's start with the quick play spell card that the archetype has, Slider, where it says, target one of your bear monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, except monsters that have a level. Also special summon that target, but it cannot attack, also destroy it during the end phase. So the way I'm looking at this is you're going to pitch a card to get a card out, and then you could play this to get that card back out that you pitched. Is that kind of what you guys are thinking this interaction is going to be like? What are you thinking there, Grunt?
So to me, this is a card that screams that Konami cut something off of it. I feel like they chopped a limb off, and there was a clause that said you can now, you're also allowed to conduct a synchro summon, synchro summon using the monster you summoned and another monster you control. And I feel like this could have been something, but they didn't do that. And my issue with it is it's a quick play, so you want to do it on your opponent's turn. So there's some effects that work. I don't know. The one thing that's funny is there was a mistranslation I read on this card that I knew was fake, but it was funny. And it said that monsters with levels cannot be summoned for the rest of, or monsters without levels cannot be summoned for the rest of this turn. So for a second, I thought that was a floodgate effect.
Oh yeah!
But
oh my gosh,
that would have been funny. But nope, they didn't do that either. I just feel like again they just kind of were afraid to make this deck
too powerful. Yeah.
Oh crap! I read that translation too. I really thought that that's what the quick play spell did.
Oh, I wish it did.
Yeah, no.
It makes it seem so much worse now, but it's still a good card.
Crap! This archetype is not good. I already thought it was like. I was already up in the air, and then I'm glad I'm not
crazy. I'm glad I'm not crazy because I thought I was the only one who read that, and that would sound crazy. I'm glad that someone else has read that.
I read that too, and I was like, oh my god, this is broken. Like neither player can special summon monsters without levels, and I'm like, oh yeah, Link players screw that.
Yeah,
bears for life.
Bears for life.
It's nothing.
It's in my opinion, this gives me Rika. This gives me Rika vibes, and I feel like this is gonna be the Rika of this set because, and I'm gonna say this right now before Konami reveals it in a few weeks. I already have a feeling that whatever the heck that one reptile deck is finally gonna abuse Snake Rain, and that pendulum deck is gonna be the first pendulum deck to have both of the scales have different numbers on one pendulum monster.
Oh.
And poor Ursa Arctic are going to look like jokes compared to them, and I'm really feeling bad for this deck right now.
Both of the scales are going to have what?
I think that both of the pendulum scales on the pendulum deck, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of her. She looks like a composer.
I know what
Yes.
you're talking about.
I think that archetype is finally going to have it, where the left and right scales on the pendulum monsters are different from one another.
Oh, that'd be weird.
So like on the left it's 1, on the right it's 8. It could be something like that, so you're able to better optimize your plays.
Oh my gosh, on the one card. Is that what you're saying?
That's what they'll do. I'm saying that because that's what I'm saying.
I don't think so. I think that would literally break the mechanic. I think what's more likely.
Oh my gosh.
Is that I think what's more likely is that everything in all of the. I think what's more likely is all of the pendulum monsters are going to have the same exact scale, right? But depending on what side of the scale they're in, they'll have like an increase or a decrease. Like for instance, they'll all be scale 4. They'll all be level scale 4. And then if they're on the left side, they decrease by 4, so it's 0. And then if it's on the right side, it increases by 4, so it's 8. I think that is a little more logical than.
That's fair. My thoughts were that they were going to have, and I'm just going to say this one last thing because obviously we're speculating and we'll see when they release them. All I'm saying is I think they'll have it where. Like they'll have different scales, but you can only pendulum summon monsters from so and so archetype. Like they'll be restricted, but they'll have that gimmick. That's what I think it'll be.
That is super interesting, guys. Because being a pendulum player, boy, does that sound interesting. But if like what you're saying, Grunt, is true, that then you're limited to one archetype. Oh, that then limits so many different decks that you might try to play. So yeah, very interesting.
I do want to say this too. So far, Ancient Guardians is 0 for 1, which sucks because this is the archetype. Like when I saw the cover art, I was like, "Man, wow, this looks cool."
Yeah.
This is the one. This was the one I was excited about after seeing the boss monster. Now that I saw the archetype,
yes, because like Grunt's saying, it looked really cool because it was like Gundam-like characters, and then we've got polar bears. I mean.
Yeah, so far, Ancient Guardians is 0 for 1. Let's hope it's not another Genesis Impact where it's like, well, even Genesis Impact had like 2. Actually, Genesis Impact
is still good.
Genesis Impact, to me, it aged well over time. When I first read it, I was like, wow, all of these are kind of duty, except like Drytron. But now it's like, okay, Drytron's obviously meta now. Evil twins / life twins have like its place, and then God, what was the other deck?
Even the stupid Magistus are still worth a decent value.
They need to basically, what I'm saying is they make better archetypes in this set, or else the set is gonna do bad.
Absolutely, especially when they've been hyping this card. Yeah, so that's a definite problem here then. Guys,
the first time.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, yes, you're absolutely right with that, Grunt. Now, looking at the continuous trap, I really think they should have done this better. So once per turn, you pay 700 life points to activate one of the effects here. So you can add one of the bear monsters from your graveyard to your hand. You contribute 2 of those monsters, and if you do special summon one bear monster from your extra deck whose levels equal the difference.
There's the quick effect. Oh, never mind.
Well, it's there, but it's a trap. And you'd have to open with this. Yeah. That's the problem. And then when your bear monster is destroyed by battle with an opponent's attacking monster, you can have your opponent shuffle cards from their hand, field, or graveyard into the deck until they have a total of 7. Okay, I don't get that. Carlos, can you explain that to me? Because I don't understand the last effect. The second effect is good, but you'd have to tribute 2 monsters to make it work.
I genuinely couldn't. Basically, I think your opponent can only have 7 total resources. But man, it's weird. It's weird. It's a weird archetype.
I don't know what that does. Literally, when I read that, until they have a total of 7. What? This is a strange card.
The thing. I don't know what the rulings are, but I've already heard some rulings nightmares where it's like, but what if Necro Valley's on the field? Like, what happens then? Can they not shuffle cards from their graveyard? Like, do they have to shuffle everything else? Like, how does that work? Or what happens if a monster is on there's a lot of weird things. That's the one thing I wanted to bring up too is This deck is funny because it has a huge gimmick with 7 and 700, and I guess the gimmick is that there's 7 stars in the Big Dipper constellation,
Oh
but
gosh.
it's such a random gimmick. Again, this gives me Ricka vibes.
I really don't understand how they make that correlation though, because the Big Dipper constellation has nothing to do with polar bears, as far as I know.
Well, the Big Dipper is also known as being part of I think it's called Ursa Major constellation. So like, there's a bit, and then Little Dipper is Ursa Minor. There's something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, Grunt. Oh my god.
That still doesn't have anything to do with polar bears. Like,
polar bears, they're bears in general.
Well, yeah, but the constellation doesn't have anything to do with bears in general, is what I'm saying. Like, this archetype is weird.
It is weird. And I'm telling you guys,
like how Drytron is based on the Draco constellation.
Well, see, that actually has inspiration, and we know what constellation it's based on. What I'm saying is, why would this be based on that constellation if there's literally nothing? There's no correlation to bears and that specific constellation.
Yeah, it's
anyway.
No, there's literally a big. It's literally a big bear constellation. That's what I'm saying. It's like Draco is dragon. The Big Dipper is part of the Ursa Major constellation.
Well, aren't there constellations that? Oh, this is getting really deep at this point. But aren't there constellations that Native Americans looked at for bears? If I'm not mistaken, I honestly don't know, but we can all agree it's weird.
I think I see what you. I just looked up the constellation star chart, and I see what you mean. Like, the Big Dipper is a part of that star chart, but it's like really weird because it's like it doesn't even look like a bear. It looks like a dog, if anything.
Barely any constellations, in my opinion, look like what they're supposed to. I honestly wonder what our ancestors were on when they saw those stars. My apologies for referencing that. But seriously, constellations are weird. Draco looks more like a snake than a dragon.
But, all right, so we do see the continuous trap. Getting back to the card, it does allow you to special summon one of your monsters. But, I mean, it is slow. And then, I don't know, you'd have to get rid of 2 cards, which I think you would be able to do. So, Carlos, what are you thinking about it? Do you think this is what you would need for the deck to work right?
Probably should have been on the field spell instead.
Yes.
That's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's fine. It's not searchable, and it is what it is. I hate when decks put important card effects on trap cards.
Yes,
like, that's a no
for sure.
Yeah, because it just limits it too much.
What I was going to say is that obviously they still have room to add more to the archetype. I think the biggest obvious thing is that the elephant in the room is that they've got 2 synchros right now, and it looks like they correspond to different level 8 tuners. So I feel like there's at least 1 more or 2 more synchros in the works, and I feel like there might be another 7 and 8 they add. Because I think what they could do to make this trap decent is if they make a level 7, and its effect is you can activate one. You can, because there's a few. I think there's another I think there's a continuous spell too or something. Maybe I'm wrong. A way for you to search or to at least set a spell or trap that you can activate during your opponent's turn, like
nope, I don't see it
something
yet.
like that.
I didn't include it if it's there. Sorry. Also, Grant, you're coming in a little bit too loud now. I don't know if you adjusted the volume on your mic.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
Oh no, you're coming in just fine now. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Corona, I'm gonna have to leave here pretty soon. Actually now, because I have work in the morning.
Okay.
I did just wanna mention something before I go.
Okay.
That's the next thing. Legendary Duelist Season 2 that comes out pretty soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has 4 new dice. I believe one of them's Blue Eyes. One of them's Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. One of them is I can't remember it. One of them's Harpy Lady, and then the other one's like Amazoness.
Yeah, Amazoness.
Yep. Which makes no sense because no Amazon-ness monsters are in this set. Anyways, this set releases this week. It has Galaxy Eyes cards, Blue Eyes cards.
Cyber Dragon cards. Yeah, it's a good set.
Dragon,
yeah.
Sector cards, Train cards, Rose Dragons. Yep. There's a lot of good stuff.
It's actually a pretty good set. Yeah, I'm actually excited about it.
just wanted to shout out the set before I go because I'm gonna be opening some of it this week, so hopefully I get some good pulls.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then before I go, well, I'm not gonna open too much, only 2 boxes. But before I go, one big thing I want to shout out myself. I bought a Ghost Rare Power. That sounds so crappy, but I want to shout out myself because I bought a Ghost Rare Power Tool Dragon recently, and I bought it as lightly played, and it came literally near mint. And this card is beautiful, and it's like one of my favorite cards that I've ever owned. And I paid a lot of money for it.
Oh, you're cracking me up, Carlos. I want to shout out myself. I love it.
It's something to be proud of, man.
It is,
deals
especially the fact that it was considered lightly played and it came in near mint. That seller would be getting a 5-star review because that's awesome that he sent you such a nice copy. And it is a great looking card. It is absolutely very fun to look at the way that you showed it when you sent the picture in the Discord. But Carlos, thank you, man. We appreciate you coming and joining us tonight. And guys, when we end up wrapping up, I'll show you how to find his YouTube channel. You definitely need to follow him. He's got great content.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, see you, man.
Yep. See you.
Okay, so Grunt, any cards in particular out of the Legendary Duelist Season 2 that you're looking forward to getting?
So I'll reference a slight other game here, and that's just because it's kind of pertinent. So I did actually buy some of the Blue Eyes sets with the Migo machines when it first came out. And I did have some good value from those. I ended up trading a lot of those away to get a Vanguard deck, and I'm like, just you wait, they will reprint these, and I will not regret trading these away for the value they're at now, because Bingo Machine Go has been, in my opinion, stupidly overpriced.
Yes,
that's not even touching
$60.
That's not even touching Photon Orbital. Photon Orbital should not be $50.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you.
What I'm trying to say is, compared to Season 1, which had 5-6 really good reprints, I think Season 2 is going to hit it out of the park just because there's so much to get excited for, and in my opinion, it's a better set than Season 1 if you really want to open some sealed product.
I completely agree with you. And it's because, like you're saying, there's more cards that's going to reach a bigger audience. I mean, in the one that you just referenced, they had Toon Kingdom, which was absolutely fantastic for people who are trying to finally find that card, because at one point it was $60. It was insanely expensive. And so now that you can get it for $6, that's really nice.
Did they reprint Toon Kingdom in Season 1? I thought that was reprinted in the Waking the Dragon set, and we were wondering why it wasn't in the Season 1.
Yeah, it was reprinted as a rare. And it ended up getting very expensive, the rare. And the secret rare was $60. Yeah, it was insanely expensive. So I was really happy when it got a reprint. I thought that was really good. There were some Ancient Gear cards that I thought were nice that they got reprinted because they were starting to get expensive just because there was the one structure deck. So that was good. But I think this is going to hit a wider player base, and anytime Konami's doing that, I think it's good. And I also like, hey, let's give you a free die for also purchasing this. Any more free stuff is definitely a benefit for anyone who's not going to just buy the singles, because usually that's all I do. I just buy the singles unless the set is actually that good, which does not happen very often for me.
I think the biggest thing is that, and I think this is the biggest departure they've done, is that Season 1, that I feel like they're trying to figure out what to do with these reprint sets, because if you remember, they printed cards like Melfi, Rabby, First Dragon. They reprinted some cards ahead of time as holos, and I don't see them doing that now. But what they are doing is they're reprinting cards that were not even tied to the original Legendary Duelist sets. Like for Blue Eyes, you're going to find pretty much any Blue Eyes card you need minus a handful. And that includes Alternative, which is finally getting a reprint out of that stupid movie set. It's, a lot of stuff is going to be accessible here.
And I'm excited for the players who have been waiting to get those. Shout outs to Zero if you're watching. But there's lots of players that love to play Blue Eyes just because it's iconic. It's Kaiba. And they finally get a chance to get an alternative for less than 15. That's nice. It's nice to see that that's going to be a possibility for them. And then for some players that play Cyber Dragon exclusively, there's a reprint in here that's going to bring the card down more. Is it the Nashter, I want to say? I can't remember the card.
Yes.
I don't.
Nashter, Naxter.
Yes, that's the one.
Whatever.
Right, it's the level 1, and I think that's going to be really nice for players. So yeah, there's definitely some good stuff in here, and like you said, there's the train stuff, which I think that is a fantastic archetype that lots of players should definitely explore. So overall, I'm happy to see this. I can't wait to start shopping for it. I'll be looking through the singles for sure. So we've got the Lost Art promotion returning here. So I think some players are excited about this. Do you happen to know very much about this, Grunt, the Lost Art promotion?
So I do know quite a bit about this because my locals has been supporting this very well, and I don't know what stores practice what. I think it differs per store. My store, for example, what they'll do is they usually get a surplus of Lost Arts. So as long as Lost Arts is only a month or two behind, usually I can, if I spend $30 on Konami products, I can pick up old Lost Arts that are currently in circulation.
Mm-hmm.
I do know for a fact. This is probably something you were going to bring up. Is the Dark Magician Girl?
Yep,
was
that's exactly what I was going to bring up. That card was crazy last year when they did something like this. It went nuts how fast that went off the shelves. So yes, that was definitely something I was going to bring up, but go ahead and continue your thought.
So my thought on the Lost Art promotion is that it's really, so for collectors, I think it's really nice. The issue is that for collectors who might want to use these in decks or who are looking for certain cards, you get cards like Dark Magician Girl who are so iconic that she's worth more than what it cost to get her as a promo.
Yeah.
And then you've got cards like Lesser Fiend and Arrival Rivals, which have nice touch-ups. Lesser Fiend, especially in my opinion, has a very interesting Lost Art. It's no wonder it got censored. But again, they're worth maybe $1 or $2, even though DMG is just as playable. And I don't know. All I can say from DMG is I was lucky to get 2 of her. I know my locals was complaining about how there was a group of 10 people who tried to come in multiple days to get multiple copies, and he had to ban them from the shop because they were getting rowdy about it.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's the demand for this card is crazy, and for all the people out there complaining about the reprint, I don't know what to tell you. You should understand this is more for collection. You shouldn't be trying to rebound off of what's supposed to be a promotion.
Yeah. I agree. Anything that helps players who are wanting these cards more of a chance to get them, I am very excited about it. I think that's good. And that's really unfortunate to hear what you had happen at your local card shop. Unfortunately, I heard of similar situations happening around the country with card stores that are open right now because there's still quite a few not due to the pandemic. So hopefully this will not get as crazy this time around. Moving on here, we've got the OTS Tournament Pack 15 that has been announced, and there's some good stuff in here. We've got Helki Fibrax, we've got the Zodiac Monster Borobo, Dogmatica Punishment. There's some really good things here. My thing that I'm thinking of with this, though, one thing I think should happen with tournament packs, it should always be full of staples. It should never be full of throwaway cards. Grunt, I don't know about you, but when you've opened these OTS packs, it's great when you get something good out of them, but many times I would find I would get cards that I just was not going to use. And if I'm coming to the store to play in a tournament, I want cards I can use. Even if they're just staples I already have multiples of, I can just put them in other decks. And then I don't have to worry about swapping out sleeves so much. What's your thoughts on that?
So it's kind of a mixed bag for me because right now Konami has shown us things that everyone's going to like. I mean, I can't speak enough on punishment.
Mm-hmm.
People actually are thinking Konami will hit Borbo because it makes Zeus too easy for Zoo.
Yeah.
Shadal Dragon needed a super reprint to match its brethren. I mean, it is what it is. I think that some people are annoyed with the Hulk reprint because they're like, well, so much for Konami hitting that. They're not going to hit that for a little bit.
Oh, no.
now.
Yeah, that's going to be around. Do you think it's going to be an
So,
ultimate?
Yeah. No, it says it's going to be an ultimate right here. Ultimate rare Halka Fibrax.
Oh, it does say it's an ultimate. Oh, I missed that. Oh, it is. Okay.
Which is,
I just thought it would
which
be
is nuts.
naturally. Yeah, that was my own thinking.
So, all I'm going to say about this is that I hope that they do. I think they've been doing better recently. I guess my example is like I've pulled things that I'm like, why did I draw Axe of Fools or Royal Magical Library? I know there are some foreign countries, like I think it was Sweden or Switzerland, somewhere else, that because they didn't get as much support, that some of their OTS packs had a lot of better reprints in them.
Oh, okay.
So, but like, I don't know. These are usually hit or miss. I feel like pulling an ultimate rare from these is exciting. It's just there is often a lot of dead weight in the commons.
Yes, and that to me is a wasted opportunity. You know, the players who go to the card shop, they're dedicated. They are definitely trying to support their local as best as they can. Just go ahead and give us some decent reprints. They don't have to be amazing. Just something that really makes it worthwhile to show up and go to that game store. Because I know there's many times where players they're there to trade, but if you're a new player, this could help you build a better deck. And that's my thought is I'm always thinking of those players that don't have a lot of money, because I'm one of those players. Being a dad of 4, we've got a big responsibility money-wise. I actually run an eBay business to break even on Yu-Gi-Oh! When it comes to supporting a club that we run, and then also when we have our own cards that we purchase. Literally, it helps pay for the hobby. But you know, it's very difficult to do that. And if you had packs that helped those players, I just think that would be a step in the right direction.
I think one of my current issues right now, and I'm not saying it's Konami's fault. I am saying this is something that I wish Konami would address, because we're reaching a year since things have gotten a little questionable, and my issue is that for some OTSs like mine, where I'm in a state where small businesses can literally not even hold unofficial tournaments, my OTS has received tons of these OTS packs. Like, I think that we've gotten 2 or 3 OTS packs since things have gone south, and to my knowledge, he hasn't been able to get rid of them or give them to people because, due to Konami's rules, he can't give them out outside of tournaments, but he legally can't hold tournaments. And I just wish Konami had new rules like the Lost Art, where maybe he can give these out for people who are buying product.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. Especially with the time that we're in right now, this would be the time to have some exceptions and some new rules. Totally agree. And the last thing we're going to be talking about, guys, is the prismatic art collecting is going to continue. I do think this is the right direction for the company. Lots of people jumped on the prismatic searching of cards and sets this past year, and that's the good thing. You always want to have for your product, first of all, great sets that people can play. You want the chase cards, and then you want something that some decent reprints for everyone who can pick up the set. By continuing prismatic art collections, that's good. And I've noticed that if they have the prismatic, that also means that the regular card is also going to get a printing as well, just in a lower rarity. Grunt, do you like this direction that Konami seems to be going in?
So I do like this direction, and I like the idea that there's also these collector sets that double as reprints. My big issue right now is that Konami hasn't really indicated if we're getting this set. The reason why I say that is because we know we're getting Ghosts from the Past,
yes.
And the fact that the OCG is getting this in February, the closest thing I could see to us getting this is it's going to be like taking up maximum gold slot later this year. But it's like that's my best guess. Unless we're getting things like this Ghost Mourner print in Ghost from the Past, that's my best guess. I don't know. I just feel like I wish that Konami had a few more of these collector sets because we've had issues in the past with certain cards not being printed here, like Frightful Patchwork and stuff.
Yes.
Which this isn't the case here. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas or the number collection they have. There's a lot of things that OCG has gotten that we haven't recently.
Yeah. I love that idea of the number collection. In fact, I thought the entire number idea was fantastic because this is a collecting card game. People love collecting the cards. I have my own number collection that I've slowly been building over the years, and that's very easy to understand. I like that quite a bit. I would almost like a second number collection to come out. I think players would just love that. So anytime they give us something that you can collect and have different rarities for, I think it's a win for the company. But hang on, I'm going to make sure I get us back to our first slide here. So Grunt, thank you so much, man. It was really great having you on. You are definitely super knowledgeable about the game, and we will definitely have you back. We really enjoyed having you today.
Yeah, no, and I look forward to this.